Take my hand, oh Abba Father, show me what you say. Guide me from within my spirit, I will let you lead.
There we go. Sorry, had to unmute myself. Still figuring out the technicalities with this thing. What is going on, y'all? All right. So last night I was up all night. I think until about 2, 3 in the morning. From 1 o'clock in the morning, I think about actually from 11 to 1 o'clock in the morning. I was trying to figure out what the heck to paint. And I was sitting at the studio, just sitting here right in the chair that I'm sitting at, with a tiny canvas about this size. This is an 8x10. This is a 4x5. I don't know if y'all can see it all right, but bless y'all. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Bless you. Bless you all. Yes. Well, I was up super late trying to figure out what in the world I was going to paint. I couldn't figure it out. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to practice for the commission that I was hired for. And I was referencing a photo that a mentor of mine took a while ago, and then she just posted it up on Facebook. I was like, "Ooh, I like the colors on that. I'm going to use that as inspiration and practice, just to use the color scheme, not necessarily the whole scene." So that's exactly what I did, and I'm going to give y'all a little teaser of what I actually did. This is a commission I just finished. Hello, Edna. Good to see you. Glad you could drop in. Edna's a dear friend of mine. She works in the airports just as well as I do. And this is the picture that I actually ended up finishing last. No, I started it last night. Then I added this. Here, let me get my finger up. I added this little golden eagle up in the corner. I'm gonna try to get y'all there. Get y'all as close as possible without the frames messing up. This was a whole bunch of fun painting. And I was actually surprised at the results of it too, because it had a lot more details than I intended it. And it was all done with palette knife too. If I can find my other one, here we go. I did it with this one, this real fine tipped one. Yes, Golden Eagle. Thank you, Edna. Appreciate it. Yes, yes, indeed. Someone's angry. I used a real fine tipped palette knife. This is the smallest one that I could find, so that's what I used. If you're ever working with a real small canvas, use a small palette knife, because I used the clunky one at first. Nope. Didn't work, except in the sky when I was trying to put in big chunks. I recommend using a fine tipped one just because you can add a little bit more detail on it. And if you're comfortable with putting in big clumps, go right ahead. But I don't recommend it. Unless you've got your color schemes down, fine tipped, a lot easier. Make sure it's at least somewhat bendy. This one's kind of stiff. I wish that's one of the things that I will be changing soon. Is I'll be investing in some better palette knives that are a little bit more bendy than this one. This one's all right, but it's still pretty stiff. I prefer the bend so that you can come in and if you want to mash it in and you want to start blending it on the canvas, it'll be a little bit easier and it won't run the risk of puncturing your canvas. Without any further ado, I'm going to show y'all the sketch I've sketched this a while ago, and I've been meaning to paint it for a hot minute, but I never did get around to it. For whatever reason, I just kept putting it off. And it's just a scene with basically the. I think it was the Last Supper inspired by it. And you got the wine jug. It's over here. Got to move opposite. You got the wine jug. You got the cup with wine spilling out, and then you've got your broken bread. And then you got a table over here as well. And then I was thinking about putting some like velvety cloth in the background. We'll see what happens. Plans get improvised all the time, so go in expecting one thing and be open to change. So first line of business, we're going to work with the background. I'm thinking probably almost like a drape right here. Maybe something along the lines of like warm lighted brick walls all around the background. Yeah, just like Communion. That's actually a good one. That's what I was thinking originally. Communion. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's that's the inspiration that I had when I originally drew it or drawn it up. I just never did get around to painting it, and now I'm gonna force myself to paint it so that I'll actually be inspired to paint it and finish it up. And hush hush, because this is actually a piece that's gonna be public. Okay, let's see here. I think first line of business, we're gonna get this warm lit background, kind of like there's a torch or something, maybe a candle lit over here, and have the lighting come from the side. Maybe a couple different spots. We can go with multiple different light sources. We'll start off with putting in the dark shapes and forms first. I've got a bunch of pre-mixed purple over here. Poured out his blood for us. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, and if y'all wouldn't mind just sharing out the broadcast to your friends, maybe to a group that you're involved with. That way we can have more people coming in here, just relaxing, enjoying art. And if y'all want to, y'all can get a canvas, get a palette knife, or brushes, whatever you have on hand. Even if you just got pencils, you're more than welcome to just paint along or draw along with me. So right now we're gonna get some warm brown colors over here, and we do that. We just go into some purple, mix that up with a little bit of yellow, which purple is just red and blue for anybody who doesn't know. Or we'll say blue and crimson. That's what I use. Phthalo blue and crimson for that real dark colors. Just works out. And be sure your paint is not super dry. I mean, if you left it out, that's what I mean. Like left it out the night before and it's dried up, make sure it's not super dry. So I'm just taking in big globs of crimson and phthalo blue on the palette, and I'm just mixing them together by scraping them up with the palette knife, and doing that over and over until I see a consistent purple color, and then we'll come back and get some yellow. And when you go back into that yellow, I recommend wiping off your knife just because. Oh, thank you. Appreciate y'all sharing. When you go back into the yellow, be sure your knife is already wiped off because you don't want it mixing with the purple unless you're just using all the yellow. In which case, go right ahead. And we're trying to go for a warm color, so that means more towards the crimson side or the red side. If you're using phthalo blue and crimson like I am, your paint's going to look almost black. As a matter of fact, it does look black. But the way to negate that is just adding white or adding yellow. What yellow does is it highlights and it brings out the light. It's a lightning color. But it also makes things look a little bit more rich. So be careful with the amount of yellow you put in there. What I recommend is taking just a tiny smidge of white at the edge of your knife. Just grabbing a little bit of this. We've got a little edge right here of white, of purple. Oh, sorry. Here we go. Just grab some of the brown. And if it's not brown, then you need to go back, add more yellow. Yes, let me rectify that. It's gonna get real hot in here though. I'll be sweating for y'all. See what I do for you? I sweat for my viewers. Who says painting is not difficult? Who says you can't get a workout with painting? All right, I need more yellow. So when you're using, oh no! Drop the lid. Quit laughing. Okay, I forgot what I was saying, but I'm just gonna get all that yellow out real quick. Drop the knot, or drops the lid in the middle of the crimson and the purple. Scared me for a second. Good thing it was dry. Don't want it contaminating the yellow. Otherwise, I'll be coming out with like a purple every time I pump out yellow. Wouldn't be fun. Not a good day. So one thing I've recently been discovering about painting is whenever you're working with like a real dark color, yes, it is funny. People are just sitting here laughing at me. Yes. Get out your ha-has. It is funny. One thing I've realized whenever I'm painting and I'm trying to work on the same color but just in like different values or different shades of color is you can take the real dark, take the most extreme dark color that you have. Here, let me move this thing out of the way. Take the most extreme dark color, in my case, this brown. Make it as dark as you can. And then set it up like at the top or in the middle somewhere, or in my case, the bottom. And then have multiple sections where, yes, laughter is good. Have multiple sections of various shades by using white. Just keep adding white, but you're going to want to use like a bunch of this darker color. I'm going to give y'all an example here in a second once I find the bigger knife. Here we go. So I'm going to be scraping out all the blues that I had on my last painting. And all the greens and the nice browns that I had. So many nice colors. Look at that. As y'all can see, I drop things a lot. Whenever you're looking at the camera, you're not necessarily paying attention to what you're doing. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep trying to mix up multiple of these dark colors right now by grabbing huge globs of crimson and phthalo blue. So in this case, look at that. We've got pretty much a fingerful. And then you can add as much yellow as you need to get the consistency that you need. And if it's not dark enough, in this case, it looks really crimson, or it's kind of hard for y'all to tell, but from my end, I can really see the crimson sticking out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep adding phthalo blue until I get that consistency that I want. And try not to mash the white in. If you find yourself in that predicament, just wipe off your knife, go back into blue, try to dodge the white on the way out. There we go. Now this is going to be more towards the crimson side too. So if you're ever wondering how to make a warm type of brown, you keep it more towards the crimson side. That just means more crimson in there. And the way you can tell, does it look warmer? Does it look hot like towards the red sides? Or does it look cool towards the blue sides? You can tell this with greens, purples, even different types of reds, believe it or not. And even browns, yellows, all colors. Just depends on how much you put in. If you're trying to keep it extreme, use crimson and phthalo blue. Those two colors are extremely powerful. And together, they make almost a black. Now, let's go into some yellow for this. I'm taking a lot. I'm taking almost as much as there is on the palette. And this should, in theory, be enough to make it a nice warm brown. Because medium yellow is decently powerful in that amount. We're going to want it cooler in the background because the farther away you are, the cooler temperatures are. Or, yeah, that's right. Just in general. And then the closer up, the more reds you'll see. So farther away, blues. More blues. Closer up, more reds. And make sure they're kind of subtle when you're mixing too. Wipe off the good knife and then go into white and let's test it out. Now that looks a little bit too much like a purple color to me, so that tells me that I need to add a lot more yellow. So that big chunk of yellow was not enough. Quick fix for that, just get another chunk. Now, what this just did, since I had way too much, goodness, we should just call this a mixing lesson. What this just did is it made it I added way too much yellow. And it's really easy to fix. Just go back into crimson and a little bit of blue to make it darker and to make it a little bit cooler. But we've got ourselves a nice brown color. We just need it a little bit warmer than it is. There we go. Now that I'm thinking about background, because we want it towards the red side. And right now it's a little bit towards the yellow and the blue. So you don't need much, just maybe about the corner of your knife. Because crimson is really powerful. It's been a while since I've had this much brown on my knife, or my palette, or this much paint. I usually don't add this much paint. Okay. All right. There we go. So my idea is to keep this table here kind of almost like a wooden or a stone table. And I'm going to make it real thick. I'm going to probably drop down the bottom of it to be right here, even though I've got the lip of it right here, the tip, not the lip. And then keep the underlighting real warm. And I'm going to paint what's behind this liquid first because, well, actually, no, because wine is not super see-through. So I take back what I just said. I'm going to keep that crimson, and then I'll paint some warmer colors on these. Probably keep it a little bit dark on the inside. So let's get started. So what I'm just going to do right now is I'm just going to start blocking in colors. I'm not too concerned about what goes on here. Just that I get the paint on there and just the canvas covered. So I have a reference. And the cool thing, you can go back and add different colors like yellows. You can go strictly into yellow if you want in small amounts and just drag the paint down to give the illusion of a more rich spot. We'll say this is like a drape. Honestly, never painted cloth before, so this is a first for me. I will be going back later and just adding texture here and there, but right now it's just, I'm trying to make sure it's real thin on there so I can come back later and mess with it. And this technique is called blocking in, for those of y'all that don't know or don't study a lot of art. I particularly don't study a whole bunch of art. I do go pay attention to people that are a lot better than me on videos, on YouTube, or in books that I currently have in my possession, which are one's by Kevin McPherson, or McPherson, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I think it's McPherson. He's apparently a world-renowned master who my former teacher and high school art teacher she learned under. And I found a lot of his materials just really, really useful. And I actually use a lot of his techniques or concepts like perspective, blocking in. Blocking in is just covering the canvas. 1 second. We dug in the closet. I did find my palette knife. Yes. And fan brush. I am getting closer. Awesome. Oh, look at that. Already got myself covered. Or no, we're doing it right now. Woo! That's awesome. Can't wait to have you painting. One step at a time. Doesn't take much. Red, yellow, blue, and white. Palette knife or a fan brush, either way. Just use the edges and the corners of the brush if you ever want to find detail. So this is going to take me way too much time if I'm just using this tiny edge right here. So I'm going to flip it over to the bigger edge. And we're going to cover some more ground. And I'm also going to add, just because it's a little further away from the light source, I'm going to take this real dark mixture of brown that I've got right here, and I'm going to mix it with the warmer one, so I have kind of like a middle ground and a gradient almost, just to make things easier on myself. There we go. And the cool thing about just laying it on real dark is you can always go over it with highlights. But be careful about adding white because you don't want it to milk it up too much. It's real easy to put it on there with just pure colors, and then when you milk it up, it's several times harder to go back and change it back to its original pure color. So I recommend going darkest colors and then gradually working lighter. Use those pure colors first. Also, let me know where y'all are watching from. And if y'all are having any issues seeing me. Okay, 1 second. See another comment. I haven't painted since forever. That's okay. You don't have to have any sort of skills to paint. You just have fun with it. Mess around with it. Relax and enjoy. I'm here to teach you techniques and to teach you to let go. Because I mess up constantly. Or I have, as Bob Ross would say, happy little accidents all the time. I just roll with them. Work with your happy little accidents or make it into something different. It really does make a huge difference when you are open to different ideas. Perfectionism, I'm going to say, is your worst enemy. Right now, I'm just kind of going around this little mason jar right here. There we go. And scrape off all that thick paint and work around it. Looks like the dog hears fireworks. I'm surprised they still have them out. Shouldn't say I'm too surprised though. Okay, so I'm going to go to my darkest color next. So we've worked in gradients now. You can paint. I just started 3 weeks ago. Yes. And she's done a marvelous job at it, might I add. She's taken all those techniques that I've taught and just used them. So now I'm using that darkest color. So I've got the lighter color, which is the lighter brown, the warmer brown. Then I mixed the two of them together right here in this middle one. And then I'm using the darkest one in this corner because it's going to be furthest away from the light source. Almost grabbed that middle. And I'm scraping it. I'm putting it on there, and I'm flattening out the blade so that I can keep it nice and thin. When I come back over it with highlights, it's just going to light up. Anybody can paint, just like Jennifer said. It just takes doing it. And don't be afraid of it either. It's honestly not something you should be afraid of. It's something that's relaxing. Don't worry about perfecting it. When you're worried about, actually, when you're worried, period, I'm going to say this much, it doesn't help you at all. When you relax and just be like, okay, whatever comes out is what comes out. And I'm going to do it, and I'm going to have fun doing it. And when you do it with that mindset of excellence, like I'm going to do it the best I can, and I'm going to have a fun time while doing it. When you think like that and you start painting like that, what happens is you lose the perfectionism mentality, which is not from God, and you gain a mentality of excellence, of doing it as best as you can. And if you honestly, you could think of it like this: whenever you're doing anything, do everything as you would do it unto the Lord. That's the best you can. It's not perfection. In my case, excellence, not perfection. In the military, they taught us a lot of excellence. Our core values are excellence, integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all you do. Well, excellence in all you do is something that God really had to ingrain into me and my work ethic, because I was so focused on perfectionism, it was actually making me physically sick, because we had a lot of toxicity in our shop. And when I just gave up trying to do it perfect, and I would just go into everything that I did with a mentality of, okay, I'm going to do it for God. I'm going to do it as best as I can. That's when things started turning around, and I wouldn't miss things. All right. So now I'm just going to take this knife, scrape away all the excess paint, put it back on the palette, and you could just scrape it from the side if you wanted to. Just be gentle with it because you don't want it to show through too much. I can hear Nori in the background just barking at the fireworks. It's kind of hilarious. And then Rodney's my roommate. He's egging her on. She's the house Shih Tzu. For those of y'all that don't know and haven't met her. There we go. All right. And it's okay if you overlap on the table, because we can always go back and fix it. That's the cool thing about oil painting or acrylic painting, period. you can always go back and fix it. You can go over things and paint it. Even with, we'll say, pen and ink. This is a technique I learned, was you can always go back over your work and make something else. So if you're not satisfied with the table, well, make a different type of table. Make it embeveled or make it have a curvy leg. Doesn't have to be straight. Shoot, you could even add like a tablecloth to it. Be creative. Have fun with it. Don't be stiff with it. Keep your mind open. Let's see. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take the similar brown that's from over here. I'm going to section off. Actually, I'm going to grab a good chunk of that paint. Have it in the center right here. I'm going to add some more yellow to it because it's going to be at the top. And I might even add like another light source over here. Might not. We'll see. All right. Now it's just a slightly brighter version of this brown right over here. And I'm just going to take it and touch the edges so I can kind of section it off. And then I'm going to start pulling it down. Because we can always go back over it with white and yellows to make it look a little bit more distinct. Matter of fact, I'm going to get a little bit more yellow. Ooh, you know what? I just saw something neat that we can do. What this is called is a marbling effect. If y'all watch Bob Ross, he teaches this all the time with mountain techniques. Yeah, yep, that does happen a lot. What I've got right here is a kind of mixed paint. So I've got the yellow right here that I started mixing into this brown. It's a lot brighter than this one right now. And also it's not completely mixed in. So it's called a marbled effect. Whenever you cut across it and you bring it down, you can see a little bit of the yellow that's inside it. So I'm going to follow the angle. Actually, we're going to go sideways, just because I like the sideways turn. Be very careful not to get over here on top of that there canister of wine. The good old jug. Well, I already got onto it. That's okay. We're just going to touch it up with white later. So all I'm doing right now is kind of outlining, just as a point of reference for myself. The edges of the table. I'm just touching and pulling. And I know for y'all, it looks almost like it's one color, one gigantor of a color, just dark. But it is not. It is actually actually four variations of color. This is a kind of like the further away from the light source it is, the darker it gets, and it's kind of bluish over here, gradually getting warmer and warmer and warmer. And the table is the warmest point. Loved yours. What? Be a little bit more specific. I don't remember what we were talking about. You loved my what? Let's use the other edge. Please use full sentences. If you would not mind. There we go. I'm being real careful. I'm using the tip of the blade at this point because I want it to be almost like a surgical procedure right around where I've kind of gotten pencil marks. Another thing, this is one thing that I recommend. If you work out or do any sort of manual labor that makes your elbows and shoulders exhausted, don't do it before painting. You're going to be sore. Because that's the case for me. I played tennis, I think, for 3 hours yesterday. A little bit tired. There we go. I'm just taking the tip of the blade, kind of fine tuning all these edges. We're going to use a lot of like pinks and crimson. Well, not crimsons, but browns and pinks for the cups. They're going to be really, really warm light. It's replying to Jennifer's comment. Yes. Okay. Yeah, no, her paintings are very nice. I'm honestly very impressed that she picks it up as quickly as she did. She's only been watching me a few times, to my knowledge. There we go. So now I'm going to take this kind of this color that was right here and this color that was right here. I'm going to kind of mix them together. And I'm going to use it that's closer to the table. So it kind of blends in, almost like a transition color. And that just means two colors that gradually change from one to the other. So it's like a smooth change. Then be sure to keep it nice and thin. All right. Now the same color that I've got right here, I'm going to start using it as the shadow colors right over here. And then the closer, actually, I'm going to probably use this same color that's right here as the shadows right here. But starting to go further away, we're going to use this color. And we're going to use some nice oranges and yellows and browns and work our way into these later. Now, what you could do, okay, 1 second, I gotta. So, have you retired your paintbrushes for now and using only knives? I was actually just about to start talking about paintbrushes. So, temporarily, I'm just using knives just because I'm having fun with them. It's just personal preference. And I like the textures that come out of them. So, I'm practicing to get better. And it just happens, I just so happen to be doing that while I'm on the broadcast. Um, so what I was gonna say was, if you wanted to, 1 second, you're an awesome artist. Appreciate it. What I was gonna say is, what you can do once you've got this completely covered is, if you wanted to, you don't have to. You can take your brushes and, just like my techniques with, we'll say, black canvases and overlaying it with like crimsons and blues, you can do the same thing, except you've already overlaid it with your browns, and just use the yellow as your light source, or as your highlights, and use like a filbert brush or something a little bit like towards the middle size. This one's good enough to where you can blend it everywhere and it'll be all right. And be sure to use hog bristle brushes or natural bristle brushes, because they're the stiffest. They'll reform back to their original shape no matter how much you push on them and no matter how much paint they've got on them. So you can bend it and it goes right back. That's why I like bristle brushes. You can use synthetic, but the problem is, they can either get paint dried into them, and they're a lot harder to get out than it is bristle brushes, because it doesn't flow through synthetic as smoothly. And on top of that, the synthetics, yes, they're still good. They're durable as all get out, but the problem with them that I run into is, whenever you've got a lot of paint, they have a little bit harder time reforming back into their original shape. But it is personal preference. If you like synthetic brushes and how they work with your style of painting, then I encourage you to do that. What do you use to clean the brushes? Actually, I have that right here. I use odorless paint thinner or mineral spirits. This stuff does wonders. Keep it away from your kids, though. It is not. It is a fire hazard, And on top of that, I think there's an inhalation hazard. So don't keep it open unless you're using it or during your painting. It doesn't bug me personally, but I'm sure it's not good for your health. Breathing that stuff in regularly. There we go. So right here we're going to have a shadow. So I'm going to grab that darker color that I've mixed up. You're welcome. Absolutely. You're welcome. Joyce was saying thank you. So because there's a shadow and it's consistent around this container, we'll say we're going to have a light that's pushing this way. So I'm going to have it real dark or darker in this area right here. And this is a technique that I've seen a couple modern masters use. Is have really extreme dark shadows and then just gradually brightening them, but just barely. Like Renaissance type painters. I actually know one. His name's Tim Gagnon. He's a pretty solid painter. Like this dude paints Jesus paintings left and right. I think one of these days I'll try to get him on the broadcast or jump in a broadcast with him. We'll see what happens. He's a friend of mine that I met while I was doing a live exhibit over at Gulf Coast State College when the organization and gallery that I'm involved with, they were like, "Hey, we need people to paint here, live exhibits." I was like, "I'm bored. I'll do it." So that's where I met him, and I found out about the good old Mevo camera. Turns out that this is actually not useful to me anymore unless I'm going out and doing live events. Okay, we got another comment. All different textures are starting to come through looking good so far. Are we talking about your painting or this one? Because this one doesn't really have too much texture. Actually, I've stripped off the majority of the paint, believe it or not. Are we talking about yours? Because that would make more sense. There you go. Yes, you are. So also, are you painting along, or are you doing the painting you started the other day? Cameras don't do justice to your paintings. Must be awesome to look at in person. Um, Not when they start out; they don't look like much, but it's once they're finished. That's a different story. Hey, Roxanne, it's good to see you. I've seen you on a couple different broadcasts, and I think I saw you live with Lance the other day. That was good testimony that you had. Appreciate you coming on. Hope you can relax while you're on here. That's one of my goals is for people to be relaxed whenever they're just watching painting. All right, let's get you covered just a wee bit. Okay, we stripped a little bit much of that. That's okay. We can always come back to this jug and fix her up by just laying it over the top. If y'all don't know, Roxanne has an incredible testimony. Um, I'm going to be 100% honest. I took away from it that she was believing God for a miracle, and that miracle took place after a long time of believing. I don't remember the whole thing off the top of my head. Half the reason is because I'm painting, the other half, I don't have the best memory. Okay, 1 second. Thank you, brother. I love seeing on the different lives. There's many different testimonies, just didn't have time on Pastor Lance's live. Gotcha. Yeah, she has a pretty awesome testimony. Right. So I've got a bunch of thick paint over here, so I'm just going to start pushing it up from back from when I started lining it and just tapping it over. I'm just going to go around. Take that thick leftover paint and start edging it with the tip of your knife. And now what we're going to do, right where we've got in between the jug, the bread, and the cup, we're just going to go towards the base and start putting in the indication of some shadows. I'm doing it again. Some shadows. Blech. There we go. I gotta dig out my stuff. My canvases are ready, so is my creativity. Yes. Get out your canvases. Come paint. Yeah, it's a long time of believing. 8 years. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's how long it was. I knew it was a long time. So she was believing for 8 years for a miracle to happen. That's a long time coming, and I believe that. Oh, that brings up this verse that I've been studying regularly. It's James, I think 1:4. I don't know. It's in James 1 that says, uh, "Be grateful for the trials in your life, for those trials, or through those trials it builds endurance, and endurance, uh, I think your perfect reward, or something along those lines." In a nutshell, it gives you patience and the strength to endure, and that's a lot of strength to endure. Okay, 1 second. I gotta dig. Okay, what shadows? Oh, you think you're clever and funny. Okay, I can see the shadows. Thanks. Let me be snippy and smarty with me. I'm gonna show you. Taking y'all off the stand. So there are slight differentiations in the colors. I don't know if y'all can see it, but I can. Right here is a real dark point. Oh goodness, let's keep it on there. Right here's a real dark point. It gradually gets brighter over here, but I kept it towards the darker side. I will eventually take yellows to show y'all exactly what I'm doing. It'll all start making sense once I start adding yellows to the whole thing. But until then, that was smarty. All right. Yeah, I guess from y'all's perspective, it doesn't look like shadows. Okay. Let's see what's next. You know what? I actually might break out the brushes for this. Nah. I'll try this. I'll just do this with a knife. Okie dokie. I think I'm going to start highlighting the background, working my way forward, and then we'll start hitting the jugs afterwards. Okay, so do you draw for others? I had a vision that I'd like to see paint. Yeah, I do paint for others. I do commissions. I just finished one, actually. Give me 1 second. It was a tiny one because the person's just now getting back into their job. Ugh. But since they could only afford one of my smaller ones, this is one that I just recently sold. It was actually his vision, believe it or not. And it's got the little golden eagle. Oh, it's over here. This little golden eagle up at the top. I had to literally go buy paint specific for it. Now I have a tube of gold. So yes, I do paint people's visions as best as I can. I let the Holy Spirit use my creativity so I can kind of get a picture of what's. Yes, I'll show y'all one more time. Kind of give y'all a picture of what he gives me. And I use certain color schemes. Like if I'm trying to match a certain time of the day and a certain part, we'll say my customer really liked rivers and brooks, and he wanted a tree in the middle of the river, and this was just a practice version, and I didn't have the tree in the middle of the river, but I was like, maybe he'll like it, maybe. I'd have to add the golden eagle like his vision, but this is the results of me just taking the time. And this took about 3 hours. It wasn't terrible. It was a 4x5. I had to upgrade it. It was supposed to be a 4x4, but online didn't have them. They were all sold out. Everybody's like, "Wow, let's go paint. Let's go paint crazy." I saw one left online, and by the time I got the money for it, it was like, hobby. Everybody else was like, yoink. And I'm sitting here like, you took the one canvas that I needed. I'm going to have to upgrade. So I went up and upgraded it for them free of charge. They don't cost that much, so it didn't bug me. What was I going to say? So what was your vision? You can tell it over the broadcast. I'm paying attention as much as I can while I'm painting. Let's see. So let's take that nice warm brown, that lighter, richer brown. We'll kind of paint the edges out. We can come back to it and make it look nice and beveled later. And by beveled, I just mean like give it a little bit more shape and form other than just a straight shot. I'm sure that even back then during the biblical times, they had some craftsmen that would make it nice and curvy and stuff. And until then, I'm just going to scrape out the basic shapes and forms. Make it nice and thin so that I can come back with a highlight color. And okay, another question. Oh wait, no, that's not a question. That's just a comment. That's so awesome. Wow, wow, wow. Beautiful. Yes. I liked it too. I honestly wanted to keep it for myself because it's the first color scheme of that type and the first time I painted a river with a palette knife like that. Like I did one, but it wasn't exactly a river. It was a waterfall with a pool at the top of a mountain coming from a tree. Like the waterfall was literally springing from the tree. I'd always wanted to paint one of those, and I finally painted it, and it kind of didn't have the color scheme that I wanted, so I had to use a reference photo to kind of get it down. And then that painting right there, that was the results of me using a color scheme off of a reference photo. I didn't really use the composition or too many of the Actually, I didn't really use the composition at all. I just used the colors of the distance, and I used the colors of the up close and the middle grounds, just in the shadows and in the light, and I used that to capture the scene that I wanted. That's where you use your mind. Just be like, okay, this is how light works. It's going to strike right here. It's going to be brightest at this point, and it's going to gradually fade away the farther away from your light source it gets. And that was the results. It was really nice, actually. It's a good thing. It came in a 2-pack, so I've got to do it again. Give me 1 second. Do you draw out your painting before you start? Nope. Mm-mm. This is the only exception. Actually, no. I've done it one other time other than this one. Typically, I just paint it out. Give me 1 second. Oh, the sky is falling. The sky falls, yes. Did you get other people's perspectives on that paint? I don't think so. No, on that painting. I just figured it out. I just made that up completely. 95% of my work is just all off the top of my head. Here we go. Another one. My vision was 5 big, huge, beautiful lions walking together like this. Then Jesus was behind in his white robe with his hands stretched out wide side to side, stretched out wide to the side. All around was God's all-consuming fire, with the Holy Spirit flying around in the middle. I'm not sure how to paint the Holy Spirit. Maybe just light. Maybe golden, yellow, brown light. I'm not sure. White light. You'd have to give me a little bit more details on that. We could talk over the phone on that, or over Messenger, and do a Messenger call. I did that with my last customer. Wow, because I was able to break it down. So, what do you mean break? Okay, I'm not following. Break what down? Okay, so a white dove. The Holy Spirit was a white dove. Okay, back to your question, or back to my question for you. What what does this mean? You were able to break it down. You mean the painting I did? My last painting. Okay, you broke down my last painting. Yes, yes indeed. Oh, white doves. Yes, got it. Duly noted. I am not entirely sure how shipping works outside of the continental US, so I will have to do some research on that. If you do end up wanting to hire me, I will let you know the prices over Messenger and stuff. And it would be a blast. But I must warn you, I I will do my best on lions, but I've never painted a lion. It's just basically shapes and color, or shapes of color. So I will do my best to make it up. It won't look horrific because I will do some extensive research on it before I actually touch that, and I might even do a couple practice paintings beforehand on little. Ah, speaking of which, tiny canvases, just so I don't waste a big one. Because those tiny canvases, they don't cost me much, and maybe I can just sell those little lions later. We'll see. All right. Let's get you covered the rest of the way. All right. So I'm going to use that same darker color on the side because I'm imagining that it's going to be a little bit further away and almost have a little shadow right there too, using a little bit darker paint. Just because we're not going to be seeing all the light source hit this. It's going to be slightly pushed backwards. Here we go. We'll do it like this. If I can get my knife under there. Knife is not cooperating. I'm going to have to flip it over, pull upwards, and get all the paint on my fingers. There. Let's see here. Nah, I'm waiting until. Yeah, yeah. He does go crazy with my creativity. He's a huge, actually, he's 95. No, he's 100% of the reason that I have creativity, period, dot, the end. I've learned that not even recently. It was a while ago. The reason we have creativity, it's him. That's all him. Apart from him, we are literally nothing. And that means with painting, that means with whatever it is you're doing, every good thing comes from him. That includes your talents, that includes your gifts. We'll say, for instance, you're a genius and you can pick up any little thing you want to do, like a sport or a video game or painting or trying to start a car or cook a meal. He is literally the only reason, or the only reason that you have those gifts. So, yes, anytime you get a big head about it, just remember your place. That's at his feet because he created you. And I got to remember that at times too, because sometimes I'll get a big head about it, and then I'm like, wait a second, no, mm-mm. He's the one that gave me the talent. He's the one that put it in me for a purpose, for other people, and for him, and to further his kingdom. I better stop getting a big head about it. And that's one thing. And I'm human, but he reminds me constantly because I asked him to. I'm like, hey, keep me in check. He's like, okay. So he does it regularly. He likes to remind me. And I'm glad he does too. Because sometimes when I look back at the times when I was real egotistical about my art, when I was first, I'd say probably about 3, 4 years ago, even, I I got a big head about it after I sold a few paintings, and after that, it was like, nope, didn't even sell another one for like a year. I was like, I'm picking up on these skills. I'm worth the money, and I'm absolutely worth the money, but that wasn't the problem. It was the ego, taking credit for it. He's the reason why I picked up this skill as fast as I have. He's the reason I've sold as many as I have, and I haven't sold too many, believe it or not. One of my goals, y'all can make fun of this if you want, but one of my goals is to eventually sell a lot of my paintings for like a minimum of $25,000, and even eventually like maybe sell a painting for like as much as like uh, $1 million or $2 million. That way I can just go and bless the socks off of people. Just gradually get smaller. Yep. Is that wood? Yeah, it is. Oh, another thing. There's always going to be someone better than you at whatever you do. That's um that's something to keep in mind. Just remember that you're constantly learning, that you're constantly trying to better yourself and increase his kingdom. When you keep your mind on him and focus on him, and not on yourself, everything follows from there. You don't have to worry about anything after that point. Because there's that verse that includes, like, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and his righteousness, and then all of these things would be added unto you. That's no joke. That is no joke. Because when I stopped worrying about, oh goodness, how am I going to afford my next bill? And just started focusing on, okay, God, this is for you. And my life is for you, not for me anymore. At that point, it was just like, here you go, son. It's all yours. I'm like, thank you. It just literally comes. You don't even have to ask for it. Like, one time I was with a buddy. This is a prime example. I like giving with just anybody that I'm talking to. And I was friends with, actually I'm still friends with, a professional shark fisherman. He wasn't a professional at the time. This is when he hired out professionals to help him catch sharks. And he got laid off from his job because of COVID, and he got it was the first time him and his wife could go out and go out and have a date with each other for a hot minute, like probably a year. That's a long time. It's the first time they'd have a date since they had their son. And he called me and he's like, hey, can you get a grill? And I was like, yeah, I can get you a grill. Do you want me to bring steaks with it? He's like, no, I got hot dogs and stuff. And I was like, I'll bring you a steak. Okay. And he calls me back the next morning. He's like, hey, you don't have to bring the grill. And I was like, no, it's too late. I'm already here. No, I'm going to buy it for you. He's like, you don't have to do that. And I was like, I know. I want to. Blessing people. Being radically generous. That's what he calls us to do. And one thing, whenever I was out there, I came out there, I'd spent like, I think 50 or 60 bucks on the lighter fluid and the coal because he didn't have any. I asked him, I was like, hey, you got any of this? He's like, no. I was like, don't worry about it. I got it. Went out there with him and his buddies and his wife. We're out there for like 5 hours. And I brought out the stuff. We all tried the food. It was awesome. Got there was this one burger. Oh, it was like rubber. Don't ever do that. He overcooked the crap out of it. It was funny. I took a bite of it and like spat it right out. Sorry, sidetracked. But in a nutshell, I ended up giving him that grill because I was like, when am I going to actually use this? Never, outside of just with him. So I just like, yeah, you can have it. And he was moved to tears almost from that. I was like, it's just a grill. Don't worry about it. Yes, I know. It was funny. It was a bad burger. What can I say? Well, he was incredibly grateful about that. I came back like 4 hours later. I hung out with a couple buddies of mine. We went out to 30A, went talked to some people, blessed some people at an ice cream shop, and came back. And I'm just hanging out with him he ends up getting put on in this like midnight at this point when he gets put on a shark. He catches an 8-foot bull shark, reels it in, and he's been on this thing for like 45 minutes, just hand reeling this sucker. It was awesome. He gets it reeled in like an hour later after he's caught this first one. He lets this first one go. The second one, he's like, hey, Jared, get it. I was like, what? I'm here to watch. He's like, nah, man, get on it. It's yours next. I was like, okay, whatever you say, man. So I'm sitting on there for 30 to 45 minutes. My left hand's dead, and I'm using him as a human meat railing to just put it on his shoulder because Jared only weighs 121 pounds, I think. And my left hand went dead after that first 10 minutes because that thing was probably 7 feet when I got it in. 30, 45 minutes later, get it in. And he pulls me aside and he's like, hey, um, I was talking to that guy and he initially said he didn't want you to be on it because you weren't paying anything. Then he told me he talked to him a second time. And at this point, I'd been talking to the dude about like my times going and talking to people about Jesus over in 30A with my friends like a couple hours earlier. And God had given me some super favor with like through my friend. And I didn't ask him for this shark, but he put me on it. So whenever you're spending your time with God and really seeking after His face, He'll just make it happen. Like you'll if you'll tell Him the desires of your heart, or you don't even honestly have to tell Him about it. Like you can honestly just be like thinking to yourself, and He pays attention to every little detail going on in your mind. And if you're when you're focusing on Him, He'll make it happen. Or He'll make connections with you that are you have no business making or you have no business having. Like for instance, this is actually kind of a no, this is 100% a God thing. Me and connecting with Darren Canning. I had him on my broadcast. I don't know, it was a week or two ago, but before that, like I think I had contemplated inviting him onto the broadcast just to, paint with me because I knew he was an artist, but I was like, nah, he'd probably be busy. And then he gets I get highlighted by Darren Canning, or God highlights me to him, and he ends up giving me a prophetic word and then saying, I think I need to talk to this guy later. I feel like there something good would come out of that, or something will come out of that. Sure enough, I was like, give me 1 second because I'm painting and I need to ship off these 4 paintings. He's like, wait, you're an artist? I was like, yeah. And I've got my own broadcast that I was considering inviting you to, but I figured you'd be too busy. He's like, that sounds like fun. Just let me know the times and dates. And I was like, okay, cool. And apparently that inspired him to get back into painting. So God connections. When you focus on Him, awesome. Oh, I see someone with a sad face emoji. That's dirty. But yeah, when you seek God first, you'd be surprised what He does for you, and you just don't even have to ask because He's like, I'm gonna do this because I love you. I'm gonna do this to bless you. I didn't ask for that connection. He just made it happen. And I was kind of shocked when he ended up saying that. Yeah, it is pretty awesome. Okay. So next line of business. So I'm going to start adding a lot more crimson to the lightest brown that I have here. Yes. Going to make it nice and red. Or warmer. Nice and warm, I should say. What this does, it kind of makes it a little bit more dull. What red does is it dulls things down. Okay, 1 second. I see a comment. Do you know a reasonable way to ship paintings? I've been spending way too much. So you've been spending way too much shipping paintings? Yeah, actually, I just did this. I don't know how much they cost. Give me 1 second. This is something I just started doing. I used to spend a lot of money on boxes and crap, but ugh, I was given this big roll of paper, and it's like a real thick paper. It's almost like a wrapping paper, but not quite. See, you can pull on it pretty tightly, and it's not going to budge. This paper, I don't know how much it costs, but I'm going to start using whatever kind of wrapping paper this is. And I mean, for now, it's free for me because it only cost me to ship. But I recommend once your painting's dry, I highly, highly, highly recommend wrapping it with like a really sturdy type of paper or like a bag or something. Then that won't cost you near as much as buying like those boxes and just folding them until they're flat on the paintings. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I do. Or at least that's what I do now. I was using boxes up until that point, up until I started thinking, wait a second, I could do that. So now I'm using paper. I just wrap it in that real sturdy paper. I've used Apex, and they are expensive. What is Apex? I don't know what that is, honestly. Is that like a shipping company? I just use the U.S. Postal Services. And I make sure that my paintings are selling for, or actually, I make sure that I include the shipping costs if I'm ever shipping paintings and selling paintings. Do you use FET? Nope. U.S. Postal Services. I should probably honestly go look at different postal services just to compare prices. It's a mailing center. Oh, yeah. I don't know the different rates. I just know the one that's right next to me. That's it. Um, Honestly, if I were you, I would just go out and maybe wrap up one painting, go to each individual one of them, and have them weigh it and have them give you like an estimate. And I'm sure they wouldn't have an issue doing that. That way, you can compare every one of them that's around you, and you can compare prices. I've lost money trying to ship. Well, how much are you? Actually, I won't ask you how much you're selling paintings for. That's your business. But I'm going to give you this advice. If you're trying to sell your paintings, I highly recommend in the pricing. This is what I do. I include the price of the shipping. I always go and calculate how much it's going to cost me to ship it. And in my case, a lot of times I just give a flat rate of $25 because anything that's like an 18-inch by 24-inch is going to typically cost me around like 16 to 25 bucks. Anything bigger than that, I haven't shipped that big yet, so I don't know. We'll see what happens there. I'm sure it'll be anywhere from like $30 to $60 if you get like 18 by 24s, and I've got even 36 by 48s and 48 by 60s here. But I have no idea how much that would cost to ship. So be sure you're including those costs. I've gifted them, but I've wanted to sell some. Yeah, I highly encourage you trying to sell them. Bleh. I, Let me recap my words. I highly encourage you trying to sell your work because not only will it help you for when you want to gift people, it'll also help. Um, it'll also help you just have a little extra income. Yeah, that's my encouragement. That's why I like selling as many paintings as I can. I mean, I do this as much as I can, and I love selling my work because whenever I have someone to sell it to, or get hired for a job for, I know my skills start to skyrocket. When I do stuff for other people, my work typically ends up giving me like a breakthrough. I don't know if that makes sense. Skill breakthrough, or I'll learn something more about colors, and um, maybe I'll have learned another marketing technique. Who knows? Um, just stuff like that has just occurred every time I've made a sale or every time that I have um, been hired for a job. Thank you. Um, Honestly, one thing I'm going to encourage you on too is don't undercut your value. If you feel like you're valued at a certain point, post your work for that much and sell it. Like don't try selling like some. We'll say I've got my 48 by 60 right here. Don't post your 48 by 60 for $200. That's a huge pain. That costed you probably $200 in materials alone. Sell that for at least 3-4 times that, just because you put in countless hours of time. I put in probably like 20 something hours into that big one. And then we'll say for the one I did for Colby Smith, I put in about 17 hours, and that was a 16 by 20. Don't ever undercut your price or your value. Be pretty firm about your prices, because you are worth your price. You're worth what you put into it. That's all I'm going to say. These are things that I've been encouraged on by other people, and things I've taken away from just in past business transactions. And I have had customers that vastly undervalue me, and I've ended up actually turning down sales because of that. Yeah, Colby's awesome. I love Colby. I've been on a few of his broadcasts before, not on live, just watching him on live. Yeah, super nice dude. You know what? I think this is kind of funny and ironic. Yeah, you're welcome. This is kind of funny. The way I found out about several of these pastors, believe it or not, I ended up prophesying to them on Darren's live streams, and I had no idea who the heck they were. I didn't know they were pastors or anything, or did live streams. I just happened to be like, oh, God wants me to talk to this one. Let's get him. So I prophesied to them, and they're like, that's spot on. Thanks. And I'm like, yeah. And I go back. They'd like friend request me, and I'm like, sure, I'll friend request you, or I'll accept that friend request. I'm pretty sure I just prophesied to you. I think 100% did with Lance and Colby. That was a funny time, because both of them went live, and I was just curious. Yeah, Darren's awesome. I found about him through my mother. He went down and visited my mom over in Georgetown, Texas. Yeah, Holy Spirit set up. Yeah, that's pretty much. No, there's no pretty much. That's exactly what happened. Like I said, even connections that you're not trying to make, he'll be like, "It's for you." Yes, yes. That was hilarious. Try hearing her rap, and then calling. I don't know who it was that was in control of the camera, but I was egging Ren on in the background when Lance is hilarious. I like Lance. I was egging Ren on whenever he was. Let me actually start painting while I'm talking, because otherwise this will never get done. I was egging Ren on to start rapping. Immediately after, someone twisted my words and said, "Hey, someone named Jared's telling you to rap." I was like, "I didn't say that. I said sing." But let's hear it. So, sure enough, that's exactly what happened. He ended up rapping. It was hilarious. I really wish I could have gone over there, but I didn't. The circumstances, I actually couldn't afford to go. I'm not going to go AWOL. Yes. Red wrapping is hilarious. Yes. Yeah, since I didn't want to go AWOL, I was trying to dodge that turn. Here, let's try to put a couple shadows right here. So I'm just lining it with the dark color as much as possible right over here. Just kind of giving it some hard edges. And then the further away it is, the more you can just kind of mish and mash it. And oh man, that kind of reminds me of the first time I met, or I actually got on the phone with. No, not even on the phone. It was with the first live I went with Ren. I couldn't help but laugh almost the entire time because he was just being funny. And if someone's being funny, I'm gonna sit there in the background and just be like, ah! It's a good thing my mic was muted because I was dying. Not dying, but laughing my booty off. He cracks me up. If y'all ever get the chance to go to the OSI thing, next time it happens, I highly recommend it. I'm going to go myself next time it happens. Hopefully, I'll be out of the military by then. Okay. So now, next goal. Come down. So we're going to have a little bit of a shadow. We'll say our light source is up top. We're going down. We'll have a little bit of light down there. And then the rest of it dark. And we'll put a little bit of shadows right over here. So I'm going to use a little bit more yellow right over here. Ooh, I put just a little smidge right in between because there's an opening. And it's okay to go outside the sketch marks that you got right here, just because it's just going to be, okay, 1 second, I see it. No, I am not in the Army. I'm actually in the Air Force. My two brothers are one in National Guard, 19 years, and my other brother is in the Army. Both joined after high school. Well, I joined a year after high school ish. I was a tennis coach before then. And actually I still do tennis coaching. It's actually private lessons though. I probably get paid a little bit more than a high school tennis coach would. At least per the hour. I think it's about $70 an hour whenever I teach. Last time it was 60 because of the customer being from New York. I just agreed to his price just because. But yeah, tell them I said thank you for their service and for putting up with the politics, because I know at that point, if they've been in for 20 years, they probably put on a few few stripes here and there. Here, you know what? I'm just gonna pull it sideways now. We'll give it the illusion of like a different platform. So take that color, a little bit of crimson, take a little brown and crimson, make a nice warmer color. Nice and dull. Maybe a little bit more of this darker color. And then the further away we get, the more dark we have. Okay, realistically, that's not happening. So we're just gonna let you go down a little bit. Air Force nephew is in the Air Force, and another just left for the Navy the other day. Awesome. Thank you. I will tell them, and thank you for your services. It's just my job. Appreciate it, though. Just what I do. I'm getting paid for it. It doesn't pay much, but it pays. That's why I do art, because I enjoy art a lot more. And eventually, I'm just gonna do strictly art. I will have myself almost like almost like a theme park or amusement park that kids can come in free. That you can have tennis tournaments and stuff, or they'll organize tennis tournaments. I'll have like 30 tennis courts. I got a crazy dream, more like a god-sized dream that I'm going to attain one day soon. It's gonna happen. Just y'all wait. Feel free to bring the kids. My objective is to be able to teach kids free, almost like maybe like a summer camp. Teach them art, teach them tennis. I'll hire a lot of other instructors along with me to teach them just techniques and stuff, and to pretty much bless them. Okay, let's get a little bit more of this darker color. That's not quite dark enough. So there we go. That's better. All right. No dream is crazy for God. Yes, I know. This is true. Just y'all wait. It's gonna happen. Here we go. Blocked it off. Nice and dark. Got all the shadows inlaid. Now I just gotta add the fine tunings. Nice, too late to add that. I'll be right. So now I'm just gonna take a little bit of yellow, start coming in around here, and just start coming back and forth over it. And like there's almost like a cloth right here. Just adding yellow to all the areas where I'm gonna have some major highlights. And you want to keep it relatively in one shape and form. So keep it flowing. So where am I stationed now? Yeah, I'm stationed over in Tyndall Air Force Base in Florida. Here. And keep the blade nice and flat when you're going down. I'm going to leave this nice little area brown. It looks kind of nice. So I'm going to scrape this out almost like there's something behind it. Almost like there's an opening to the wall. You know what? Brush time. We'll see what I can do with brushes. At least with, I'm gonna hit around a couple of areas. We'll just start blending out just a few spots here and there. So I'm keeping the paint relatively ingrained into the brush. I don't know if y'all can tell. It's a little thick, but it's ingrained enough into the brush to where I can actually just take the brush and just kind of pull it upwards. Give it a little upward tugs, upward pulls. Cool. Way too much. So now that I'm using a brush, I actually need to use this odorless paint thinner. One second. Okay. Oh, since I've got y'all on, I just got a message that one of my friends got tested positive literally just now. The thing just flew down. Someone just got tested positive that I know for COVID-19. If y'all wouldn't mind praying for her and agreeing that that crown of COVID is broken in half and that she is free from the COVID and she is healed. That would be greatly appreciated. She says she's self isolating for about 10 days or so. Here we go. Just use you again. Oh, hold up. Florida, I've never been anywhere off the islands. That's where Kathy McCool, I don't know who that is. I, I don't know who Kathy McCool is. My nephew, that's in the Air Force. He's stationed. Oh, he's in. Let's see. Is he in Misawa or Yokota? One of those two. I think Misawa is in Okinawa. Yokota is a little bit closer to Tokyo. Okinawa is in the island, if I'm not mistaken. So I put that on just a little bit thick. So we're going to put Jude back down here, just like there's a little glow. Just try to keep our brush strokes straight up and down. Thank you, hard. So after every couple strokes, I recommend going and reloading with yellow. So I'm going to try to keep it relatively close to this edge right here. Just like so. I appreciate y'all praying for my friend. She's a good tennis buddy. She was actually watching out for me and my wife when we were kind of in a little bit of trouble after the Hurricane Michael struck, and I had no vehicle. She was taking care of us. So every bit of those prayers are appreciated. Where? There. Just have little bits and pieces where it's showing with that nice warm light. Give me one second. Okay, now y'all blowing up conversation. Okay, coming under agreement. She is healed in Jesus' name. Thank you. Joyce Preston praying. Awesome. Kathy, she's always on Pastor Lance's lives. Uh, I may have seen her once, but I don't remember her. I don't always come on Pastor Lance's lives, just because I've been pretty slammed with taking care of a bunch of paperwork lately. That is the number one reason right now. So right now I'm just going to be tapping the edges of these. There we go. Just the edges with yellow. I almost said white. It's not perfectly straight, but that's okay. So now comes the fun part. I'm just going to keep adding in that yellow towards here because it's closest to the light source. Right over here. So one thing you could do if you wanted to, you could take the yellow closest to where you see the light source at. So in this case, I'm just going to kind of tip it in there, just like it's got a nice edge. Doesn't have to be perfect. And as a matter of fact, I know it's kind of ugly, but that's okay. So I'm just kind of doing little crisscross strokes, going back into the yellow, making an almost glowing effect. And what this is doing is it's gradually brightening up this entire area just by using yellow. And you could, if you wanted to, go into a nice 1 inch brush, and it makes it spread faster. But what I'm trying to do is make that nice glowing effect. Shoot. It's been about 2 hours. It's about to cut off, y'all. Um, Actually, I think it cuts off after 4 hours, but I'm going to be I'm going to be calling it for the night. If y'all need anything from me afterwards, just get a hold of me via inbox or something. If you want to see something different on the next painting, I'll probably be working on this all night. We'll see what happens. If you want to see something different on the next painting, I can get to y'all as long as y'all just leave the requests in the comments down below or in my review section. I'll get to it one way or the other. And I'd like to pray for y'all. And I bless y'all right now with peace and joy and burning bright for everybody that's around you. And I decree and declare that y'all will seek first his kingdom and his righteousness first, so that everything else will be added unto y'all, and that y'all can bless people and be radical, crazy, generous givers and be the light that God made you to be. Don't hide it. Be vocal about it and be loving. All right. That's it. I'll be seeing y'all tomorrow at 6-ish. We'll see. I might come earlier with I think I might actually have Lucas on either tomorrow afternoon. Lucas Levine. I don't know if y'all know him. Well, hold up. Your name always would highlight to me when you came into lives. You're a blessing to many. Well, thank you. That was very nice. I forgot what I was gonna say. Um, Darn, I forgot. I'm gonna try to remember before y'all dip out. Holy Spirit, help me out there. I forgot. Well, oh yeah. Roxanne, we can talk later afterwards about your painting if you'd like, if you're still interested in that. And Lucas, yeah, um, he's going to be my next guest. I was actually trying to get him on for a while. He said he's been feeling kind of under the weather lately, so he wasn't able to get to me, which is okay. I mean, that's normal. Uh, Actually, let's keep him under our prayer right now. I decree and declare that his health is on the up and up and no longer he's sick. I decree and declare that sickness is gone from him in Jesus' name, and that he will continue to be in good health so that he can serve God's purposes. In Jesus' name, amen. Um, yes, he will be my next guest, or at least that is my intent. I intend to also have Mark Redner on sometime, and there was another person, I think John Bell. That's if he wants to. I'm not going to force anybody on my broadcast. You can't do that. It'd just be fun to have him paint. It's just another side you get to see, and just another person that I could bless and show them different techniques and help them to loosen up and just learn to be more expressive and more loose when they're painting. That's basically it. Let me know what y'all think in the comments down below. I'm gonna actually put my YouTube channel on real quick for y'all. If y'all wouldn't mind going and subscribing if you haven't already. I'm gonna see if I can't type that out for you because I know that's a buttload of stuff to type out. So I'm gonna get on my. Oh, don't fall! Please don't. That would be bad. Don't want you to get paint on the carpet. I'm gonna type it out for y'all in the comments so that y'all don't have to go back and worry about that. 104 comments. Dang. Okay, I'm gonna do this so y'all can copy and paste it. Slash UC. Oops. You cat. No. Oh no. 5F. Goodness, that's a butt ton to type. LWFH RR QQX. Man, I need to just have this on the copy and paste board because that's a lot for any one person to type out. There we go. 1 second. I saw another comment. Mark Redner, love him too. Two great men of God. I hope I can catch the live. I come on live almost every day except weekends. Weekends I try to take off just so I can either relax or go out and play tennis and exercise more. Sometimes I go out and teach tennis. Sometimes I go out and shop for frames. Right now I'm looking for frames so that I can make my work look a lot more fancy than it actually is without a frame. Like for instance, imagine if this little guy had a frame. I was actually looking at small tiny frames and it would enhance this greatly. As a matter of fact, I'd say most paintings, if you've got like just a half-inch frame, just like this, or an inch frame, I highly recommend getting frames for them because the paintings are way enhanced when they have those nice frames with them. It does wonders. Tip for you, Joyce. If you're going to sell your work and you do a work with standard paintings or standard size canvases, you can buy standard size frames from Hobby Lobby for super cheap. That's my secret. One of them. But if you don't, then canvas or then frames are super pricey. Unless you look on like Marketplace and find some really good condition ones, which is a thing, but it's not common. So I think that's all I have for y'all for today. I'm a little tired and I'm hungry, so it's time to go get some enchiladas out of the fridge and microwave those suckers. And I appreciate y'all coming on. And for the meantime, I'm actually going to play y'all the intro video in case y'all didn't see it. This is I just wanted to let y'all know that I was working with Josh McQueen or McEwen. I don't know how you pronounce his last name. but he's the pastor and he runs the pod, or he's the pastor of the pod ministries, and he runs Stream Media. So if y'all need any intro videos, he's your guy. He's set me up with this. And I also hired Joanna Lauer. She's an incredible musician. Like, wow. I have actually, I'm just going to keep y'all on for a little bit longer just to explain this story because it was 100% a God connection right there. Um, I was, when I was in the mental hospital back when I admitted myself, God had got a hold of me and had given me several vivid dreams that I could even hear after I woke up. Like physically heard it playing in my head after I woke up. And one of the songs I heard was called Hope Song. And I heard it playing for probably about 2 days. It was very vivid to me for like the first 10 minutes after I woke up. And I told a couple people about it. And in that dream, so it started off, that song was playing, and I heard this voice start singing, and it was the Hope Song, and I also saw this silhouette of a man. His I knew instinctively, or I guess Holy Spirit revealed to me that he was my investor. Before he even started speaking, he just said these exact words. He's like, "Huh, you know what? I think I'm going to invest in you, man. I'm going to invest in your company." And really articulate, just like a lot more articulate than I just said. But he ended up being someone that I physically met. He's one of my coworkers now, and he's actually my investor. And I met Joanna like a month and a half after that. Actually, around the same time I met my buddy, who I'm currently working with. So 2 divine connections right there from a dream. How does that freaking happen? That's crazy. It's God thing. It's awesome. Well, I actually ended up hiring her just recently to do this intro video song that y'all are about to see. And her and Josh McQuinn ended up timing it with the video, so it looks and sounds really good. So I want to show y'all real quick, and it's about to play. So get ready. Okay, I found it. Now it's gonna play.
Take my hand, oh Abba Father, show me what you say. Guide me from within my spirit, I will let you lead.
And that is the song. I can't remember what she titled it, but that's the intro video, and that's the song combined. Is that not sweet? All right, y'all take it easy, and go check out Joanna Lauer. She's on YouTube. All of her work is on YouTube. Give her a like and subscribe. It's just spelled Joanna, Joanna. Lauer, that would be just spelled like lower, Lower. All right, that's it. That's all I got for y'all. Love y'all. God bless y'all. Thanks for coming on. Bye. You got teary eyed. It is a beautiful song. She did a good job. All right, now I gotta go. I've got enchiladas in the fridge waiting for me. Thanks for coming on, y'all. Bye. Okay, hurry up and press end. End. Okay, there we go.